Hello friends, welcome back to Pathshala. Breathing is not just about to inhale or intake of air and exhale air from our body. This has a science behind this. To understand this, today we will discuss mechanism of breathing in human beings. So, mechanism of breathing actually the breathing process means the intake or inhalation or inspiration of air, that is from oxygen, and the exhalation of carbon dioxide, that is produced as a byproduct due to this respiration process or the cellular respiration process. So firstly, the mechanism of breathing is divided into two parts. The first part is inhalation, and the second part is exhalation. Inhalation is also known as inspiration, and the exhalation is known as expiration. So, the inhalation process actually is a very detailed process. The lungs in our body guarded by some ring-like structures. So this ring-like structures forms the thoracic cavity in our body. This ring-like structures is actually the rib cages or the thoracic cavity. So these ribs are actually guarded by the intercostal. Ribs are guarded by the intercostal muscle and the diaphragm. What happened in inhalation process is, when we inhale air or when we start breathing or inhale oxygen, firstly the rib cage moves outward and upward. So firstly what happened, the rib cage or this ring-like structures in bony ring-like structures in our thoracic cavity moves outwards and upwards, and this happens due to the contraction of the intercostal muscle and the diaphragm muscle. When the intercostal muscle contracts, it provides a larger space in the thoracic area. Along with the diaphragm also flattens. When the rib cage move upward and outward, the length of the thoracic cavity or length of this rib cage actually elongates, and the diaphragm flattens, and this diaphragm moves slightly upward, and when it flattens, it actually pressurizes in the abdominal organs, and the size of this actually also helps to increase the size of the thoracic cavity. And the abdominal, when it pressures the diaphragm pressurizes the abdominal organs, the abdominal wall also move outwards. After that, the third is when the chest cavity or the thoracic cavity elongates in size, then the internal pressure, when the thoracic cavity elongates the internal pressure of the lung, means the air pressure in the lungs reduces. And the lung pressure is actually then lowers than the atmospheric pressure, means when the thoracic cavity or the chest cavity elongates, the air pressure present in the lungs decreases, and the decreases than the outer environmental pressure or outer atmospheric pressure. And the greater atmospheric pressure helps to move air inward in our body and to fulfill the lower pressure and to fulfill the or to balance the lower air pressure in lungs. So when the to minimize or to actually regulate the air pressure, the oxygen mixed air or oxygen rich air we inhale or that enters into our body to equalize the air pressure in lungs. And the air pressure, when we intake the air, oxygen rich air, it equalizes the air inside the lungs, and via the capillaries the oxygen rich blood then supplied to each and every part of our body. Similarly, after the air is inhaled, when then the internal air pressure is much more higher than the outer atmospheric pressure. So to equalize that, the diaphragm muscle then normalizes or relaxes and it gets the dome shaped structure when the and started the exhalation process. So in exhalation process, the diaphragm muscle gets relaxed and it becomes dome shaped, and also the intercostal muscle get relaxed to normalize the rib cage. So rib cage moves into its original position, the lungs moves into its original position, and the diaphragm becomes dome shaped, so that the abdominal organs moves into its original position. And so when that occurs, the internal pressure in the lungs also higher than the outer atmospheric pressure. So the carbon dioxide rich blood then moves from the blood capillary to the alveoli, and the carbon dioxide rich air then moves back to the respiratory system, and this is known as exhalation or expiration of air. Now we talk about the breathing rate. So this is actually the full mechanism of breathing. Next we talk about the breathing rate, or the breathing rate in human. Breathing rate. In normal condition or in normal stage, we actually breathe near about 15 to 17 times per minute. In normal condition. In normal condition, we breathe 15 to 17 times per minute. But when we do exercise or when we do jogging in the morning or when we walk fast, then in that case the breathing process actually increases, and that increases up to 20 to 25 times per minute. So if we talk that the normal breathing rate or normal breathing times in our body per minute is 15 to 17 times per minute. In that breathing process, the carbon oxygen rich air enters into our lungs and our blood capillaries takes those oxygen rich blood oxygen from our lungs, and the hemoglobin present in the blood combines with that oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, and this oxyhemoglobin or the hemoglobin combined with the oxygen transported to each and every part of our body, and the cellular respiration then starts. And after the cellular respiration or after the process of cellular respiration, the carbon dioxide produces as the byproduct of respiration, and this carbon dioxide also combines with the hemoglobin to form the carbaminohemoglobin, and some of the or the most of the carbon dioxide actually dissolved in the plasma, and this plasma containing carbon dioxide and the carbaminohemoglobin then move back to the lungs, and the expiration or exhalation process happens. Next, we talk about the gaseous exchange. Our next topic is gaseous exchange in lungs. So, our next topic is gaseous exchange in lungs. So, gaseous exchange in lungs actually occurs in two different processes. First process is external respiration. First one is external respiration, and the second one is internal respiration. External respiration means the respiration in the respiratory surface. This actually happens when the alveoli gets the air or alveoli swollen due to the fill of oxygen in it, and the intercostal muscle contracts, and the diaphragm muscle also contracts, and the blood capillaries near it diffuses the oxygen in. So this is the respiration process that occurs in the surface of respiratory tract or the surface of alveoli and the blood capillaries is known as the external respiration process. In this process, actually, the oxygen gets in the blood capillaries, and the carbon dioxide gets out from this blood capillaries into the alveoli. So when the oxygen diffuses into the blood capillary, some of the content of oxygen or when the inhalation of oxygen occurs, after that the oxygen diffuses into the blood capillaries, but some of the oxygen actually resides in this alveoli for greater absorption. Some of the air present in this alveoli to get better absorption process, and after the inhalation, just after the inhalation, exhalation occurs, and during this inhalation and exhalation, not the full air releases from the alveoli, and when the full air if the full air releases from the alveoli, then the alveoli may collapse, so that sorry, some of the content of the air present in this alveoli to get better absorption of carbon dioxide into the blood vessel, and the carbon dioxide, the greater actually absorption of oxygen in the blood capillaries, and the carbon dioxide get diffused back into the alveoli. Next is the internal respiration. Internal respiration is nothing but the cellular respiration, and we talked the cellular respiration in our previous classes. The cellular respiration actually occurs in two different stages. One is aerobic respiration and another is anaerobic respiration. Some of the organisms do their respiration process aerobically, that is in presence of oxygen, and some of the organisms or some of the lower grade organisms do their respiration process even there is no oxygen. So the aerobic respiration and the anaerobic respiration together is known as the cellular respiration, and the internal respiration is nothing but the cellular respiration process. Lastly, we discuss the transport of gases. Last topic of respiration is transport of gases. We discussed this topic earlier actually. So the transport of gases occurs in two stages. First one is transport of oxygen and the second one is transport of carbon dioxide. So when we inhale oxygen, the blood capillaries present near about the alveoli diffuses, the oxygen actually diffuses into this blood capillaries, and the hemoglobin present in this blood capillary, hemoglobin has actually an affinity towards the oxygen present in the blood air, sorry. Also, oxygen combines with the hemoglobin and it forms oxyhemoglobin, and this oxyhemoglobin transports the oxygen firstly to the hearts, and then the heart pumps the blood to reach to the different parts in or each and every part of our body cell. Next, transport of carbon dioxide. So, carbon dioxide transportation also occurs via the blood. Some part of the carbon dioxide dissolved in the plasma as a bicarbonate salt, and the some part is combines with the hemoglobin and forms the carbaminohemoglobin, and then it reaches into this lungs, and the exhalation via the exhalation process or expiration process, the carbon dioxide releases back to the atmosphere. So oxygen combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin, and carbon dioxide dissolved in plasma to form the bicarbonates as a bicarbonate salt, and also some of the content of the carbon dioxide combines with the hemoglobin to form carbaminohemoglobin. So this is the detailed structure of inhalation process and the exhalation process. So thank you so much for today's session.